We previously talked about Afterpay, which was bought by Square for tens of billions of dollars. And one of the interesting things about Afterpay during that acquisition was Square was asked, did you guys consider Affirm, which is another buy now, pay later platform? And they said, we didn't even consider it. Interesting. Well, Affirm was not going to be left behind by Afterpay. Affirm, which Max Levchin started, basically has said, you know what? We're going to go play with the big dogs. And Amazon has now done a deal to enter the buy now, pay later space with a partnership with Affirm. And so Affirm's checkout options will be available to certain Amazon customers starting a week ago, with broader rollout in the coming months. The partnership will let Amazon customers split purchases of $50 or more into smaller monthly installments. Some Amazon customers' loans will bear interest, but some will come with 0% APR. Amazon already has credit card offers for Prime members and cashback incentives or introductory zero interest terms through partnerships, but now Affirm is in the game. So Affirm's stock has spiked as much as 48% on Friday, after the news, adding more than $8 billion to its market cap. One partnership with Amazon, $8 billion in market cap. They work with over 12,000 merchants, including Peloton and Walmart. And if Affirm captures just 1% of Amazon.com's North American sales, it could add over $900 million or 10% to its revenue. Now, as we previously discussed, buy now, pay later is simply a modern credit card to some degree. If you think of a credit card, you basically walk into the store, you swipe a card. When you swipe that card, you're using credit and you pay off the card at a later date. Remember, free tip for everyone at home. Your credit card is actually reviewed by the credit agencies, not when your payment is due, but usually a couple of days before. Make sure that you continuously pay off your credit card and you don't just pay it off once a month when they tell you to. That is a way to boost your credit score. But the buy now, pay later system essentially does not use the terminology credit card, which has somewhat of a negative connotation in younger people. They think that they've heard enough of credit cards are bad. People can get in credit card debt. The average credit card balance in America is about $6,000. The average credit card interest rate is 16, 17%. And so it's a really, really bad situation if you use a credit card incorrectly. The beauty of buy now, pay later, if you look at somebody like Afterpay, is they have no interest. It's 0% interest loan. But what they do have is they have late penalties. And so I think Afterpay's is $15. Affirm has a different system here. And so when you start to look at the way that we are watching credit enter the young millennial generation, or those that are younger than maybe, let's say, 35 years old or so, it is being called buy now, pay later. It's not being called a credit card when you look at these systems. And it's also being integrated directly into the platforms. When you go check out at the merchant, you simply click a button and you can break it up into monthly installments. So we have a quote from Eric Morse, the senior VP of sales at Affirm. He said, quote, by partnering with Amazon, we're bringing the transparency, predictability, and affordability that Affirm provides today to the millions of people who shop on Amazon.com in the US. Offering Affirm's alternative to credit cards also delivers more of the payment choice and flexibility consumers on Amazon want. End quote. We can look and see Affirm's revenue sources. When you look at this chart, it's pretty interesting because what it shows is that the merchant network revenue from retailers is 54% of Affirm's revenue. Their interest income off of the consumer loans makes up 31%. And then they basically have a couple of other revenue sources, but most of it comes from the merchant network revenue, over 50%, and then 30% or so comes from the interest income from those loans. We then can look at the actual websites with Klarna or Afterpay installed. Remember, we continued to see this up. Affirm looks very, very similar. As you saw from Q1 of 2020, a just rapid increase in the number of websites that are deciding to do this, the number of platforms. Amazon is now in the game, one of the, if not the largest retailer in the world, absolutely exploding. You can also see that not only are more people installing it, but the monthly visits to these websites is taking off as well. Why? It's because more people are using this type of mechanism, this buy now, pay later. And so then we can go in and we can look at the percentages of people who used a buy now, pay later service. So in July 2020, where are most of the folks using it? Again, 50% is in the 35 to 44-year-old category, but still, even surprising to me, 42% of people in that 45 to 54 category have used a buy now, pay later service, all the way going back to July of 2020. If you then look in March of 2021, an explosion of interest. We now have an 18 to 24-year-old category, 61% penetration. We have 60% across the board up until you get to the age of 44, then 53% over 45, and over 55, 40%. So the smallest age bracket from a percentage of those who have used buy now, pay later is 40%. And those are people over the age of 55. But the youngest demographic, over 61%. My guess is that we will continue to see this rise in the coming years. And then we've got one more chart here or a table, I guess, that shows the interest rates and the late fees. So Affirm, they have interest, no late fees. The interest rate is up to 30% depending on your credit worthiness and the other types of products offered. 0% APR may only be offered at select merchants. Sounds a lot like a credit card where you have an interest rate that could be low or high, and there's no late fees, but it's buy now, pay later with interest. Afterpay, 0% interest rate, up to $17 per late payment, capped at up to 25% of your initial order value, or $68, whichever is less. Future Pay, Klarna, PayPal, etc. You can see everyone's got a different model, but this is the future of where credit is going, in my opinion.
What credit card do you know that offers 0% APR?
Well, to be fair, if let's say with the Afterpay example, right? So 0% interest rate, if I bought something for, let's say $100 and it was split out among payments and I miss 2 payments, what ends up happening is I pay $25 in late fees, right? I basically get capped at the $25. But when that occurs, I basically am paying a 25% interest rate, which is higher than the average credit card, which is only 16 to 17%. Now, the counter to that or the critique of that argument is yes, but the 16, 17% average is every single year until you pay off the whole thing, whereas this is capped at that $25. So you could argue both ways that it's better or worse.
Yeah, I think this is great. I don't think it's going to replace credit cards, right? So obviously the younger demographic, you said 60% have used it since by the time in March of this year. But it's interesting because credit cards offer points and cash back and all those different things. And I'm also curious why didn't Amazon just do this themselves? Like, did they outsource it because they need someone else to use the service with? Or is it just because they didn't want to deal with it? Like, they have the capital to fund everything. They could probably build the infrastructure decently easily. So I'm just curious why they didn't do this themselves and outsourced it.
It's a great question. I don't have the answer. If I had to guess, there's probably 2 components. One is there's probably a high likelihood it's easier to partner than build yourself. And then 2 is Amazon may not want to get into the game of actually underwriting the loans, having the capital base, executing that, like building all of the infrastructure around the actual credit component of it. Amazon could do it. I mean, they could write software to do whatever they want, but it's almost one of these things like, you can do something yourself and learn from scratch. You could go buy somebody in the space, or you could just partner with somebody.
Well, it's not like they're going to take users from Affirm, right, and bring them to Amazon. It's more going to be a reversed push of customers, right? Like people are going to use Affirm because now it's on Amazon. If they get 1% of the North America market share, they're going to increase their revenue by 10%. That's insane. They get 1% of Amazon's North America market share.
Have either of you ever done this? Buy now, pay later? I've never done it.
No.
I use a credit card every day though, right?
So essentially you do it a little bit.
Well, I use the kind of more traditional legacy system rather than this, but I'm shocked to see 18 to 24-year-olds, 60%, and then over 55 to see that they've had over 40% of people have used buy now, pay later, knowing how great of penetration credit cards have.
Yeah, honestly, it's not really that surprising to me because if you, like any basically e-commerce website you go to now has it as an option, and it's always projected as like this super appealing kind of payment option because of the $0 down, monthly payment, whatever. And it's enticing for some people, obviously, to be able to make monthly payments rather than pay a substantial portion up front or feel like they're paying it up front with a credit card. But yeah, like I think we talked about Affirm last time when Square made the big acquisition last month. But Affirm, when they went public, they had 6,500 merchants that were using their product, and a third of their revenue came from Peloton at the time. So they were massively concentrated with one retailer. And then if you look at this deal, like this is a game changer for them from the perspective of like not only are they not going to be concentrated with one, but they just signed up an even bigger one, right? So it's going to be massive from a revenue standpoint, but it's also going to diversify their business with two major players who are doing millions and millions and millions of dollars of revenue and billions of dollars of revenue, and will be there to expand with them in the future.
Well, they had 6,500 merchants when they, I guess, IPO'd, right?
Yeah.
They have over 12,000 now, and it's interesting because Peloton, probably one of their biggest customers, just slashed their prices on their bike.
One of the things that's super interesting to me, Amazon, as we talked about last week, now is going into physical retail stores, like department stores, right? So you basically took an online bookstore, you blew it up. It's the everything store. They are the #1 e-commerce site in the world, or at least in North America for sure. And then you basically go right back to the old model of now they start to have the physical stores, right?
Yep.
So I wonder if the buy now, pay later platforms are going to end up actually just issuing credit cards. Right, to some degree, like, do you basically just say, hey, we have the customer base, we have millions of people, we know that they want credit cards as well as use these buy now, pay later services, so we're just going to go ahead and push into it. I forgot who said it in the comments as well. Another kind of perspective on this is what you're seeing is a lot of these retailers, this is them dipping their toes into financial services and starting to understand and learn and see the value of this. And then what they'll start to do is eat the stack. Right now, all of a sudden, we've seen them in the past. If you went to a JCPenney or a Belk's or name your department store that you would go to, they would always ask you if you wanted a JCPenney credit card or a Belk or a Macy's credit card, right? And there was some kind of gimmick or offer that came with it. Same thing you see with like the airlines. When you go to check out at an airlines, hey, do you want the American Airlines credit card or whatever? Are we eventually just going to see this start to permeate into all retailers, right? In a world where Shopify ends up being incredibly important infrastructure for people to be able to have these online stores, do we get a world where they say, hey, now I can offer credit to my customers. I can use Affirm and I can basically extend buy now, pay later services to my customers of my small business. Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe I can white label and issue a credit card to them as well. Like, you start to wonder about how this all plays out, but it just feels like these fintech services have the tailwind at their back, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. What's up, guys? Bang, bang. A bunch of you want to bring that trillionaire energy every day, and if you want to do it in your financial life, go use SoFi. SoFi is our exclusive sponsor because we think they've got a great piece of software that'll help you accomplish your financial dreams. Go to SoFi.com/pomp today to get started. You can invest in everything from ETFs to individual stocks to cryptocurrencies to IPOs, and they even have an automated invest function. Head on over to SoFi.com/pomp today and make sure you come back tomorrow to watch more of the Best Business Show.